Good morning, hey everybody, welcome back to Blu-Roy Movies. I hope we're all doing well. It seems a while since I recorded a video. I think it's getting on for a week. Yeah, I didn't watch much last week, so no weekly watches. I haven't picked anything up. Am I cured or what? So I've had no pickups to show off. So what I'm going to do today, now I've done my favourite by genre about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm blown away by the reaction and the success of that video. You guys left some fantastic comments, but more importantly, I had loads and loads of video replies. It was just something I did off the cuff and didn't really expect that it would take off like it did. So yeah, I was really pleased, and thanks for everybody who responded. And I had a few comments about why not expanding it and go with some different genres. So that's just what I've done. So back by popular demand, well, something like that anyway, this is my favourite films by genre part 2. And I've got 11 more different genres, and we're going for, I've wrote this down because I'll only forget it, I've gone for courtroom drama, tear-jerkers, biopics, road movies, documentary, adventure, feel-good, sports, musicals, badgered into that one by Stuart, film noir, and prison films. So yeah, that's something to get my teeth into. So let's get into this. Let's roll the credits and we'll pick some more favourites. Right, let's kick this off with courtroom dramas, and I've gone for my favourite director, Billy Wilder, 1957, Witness for the Prosecution, starring Charles Lawton, who's absolutely brilliant in this, Tyrone Power, Marlene Dietrich, and Elsa Lanchester. This is about Charles Lawton. He has to defend Tyrone Power on this murder case, and like I say, Lawton's so good as this grumpy barrister who is under doctor's orders. He's just had a heart attack, so he should be taking it easy, and he's chased around by his nurse all the time, Elsa Lanchester, and the chemistry between those two is fantastic because Lawton really won't do as he's told. And this is just a brilliant courtroom drama that has twist after twist and curveball after curveball, and ends up with one of the best twists in film history, in my opinion. And at the end of the film, there is like a message saying to the audience in general, like, please don't spoil the twist of this film. And very wise indeed, because even to this day now, the twist hits and is, like I say, just one of my favourite twists in film. If you haven't seen Witness for Prosecution and you like your classic films, your Wilder, your courtroom dramas, this one's an absolute must. Yeah, brilliant, brilliant film, and my favourite courtroom drama. Next up, we're going for tear-jerkers and something a bit more contemporary. 2012's J.A. Bayona directed The Impossible, starring Naomi Watts, Ewan McGregor, and a very, very young Tim Holland there, who went on, of course, to be Spider-Man. Now, this is all about the tsunami that struck Asia in 2004. I think it was about Boxing Day, if memory serves me right, which such a humanitarian catastrophe. I think it killed like close to 250,000 people. It's absolutely catastrophic event. And actually, my own memory of it Now, this is going to go on a bit of a tangent, but I'll do that sometimes. I worked with this guy called Kish back in the day when this happened, and Kish, he sadly and unexpectedly died. Uh, just like that overnight. One day he was fine at work, and the next day he didn't turn up for work, which we knew was very odd because Kish never missed work. And then we got the message later that he'd sadly passed away, and he was a good guy, Kish. And we went to his funeral, and he was an Indian guy, so it was a Hindu funeral. And I'd never been to like a Hindu funeral before, and the instructions were to meet at his house. So I presumed that we'd just meet at his house, and maybe you'd all drive up and follow the funeral procession to the crematorium. But no, I think Hindu tradition, you have to go into the house of the deceased, and you all pass round the coffin and say your goodbyes, which I wasn't too struck on, to be honest. I like Kish as a work colleague and that, but I didn't particularly want to see him dead. And now Kish, oh God rest him, Kish, he wasn't the most photogenic guy in history, and I couldn't help thinking that the undertakers had done him a proper service, and he looked better dead than he did alive, bless him. I'm sorry, Kish, if you're looking down. But I remember like walking around this coffin, and towards the end of the room, they had a collection plate, and they were collecting for people affected in Asia by this big tsunami. And I just couldn't help but be touched that even in the midst of this family's personal tragedy, because Kish was an old guy, he was only like in his 40s and had a young family, he left behind young children and a wife, and yeah, just couldn't help but think amongst this personal tragedy how they'd have time to set out a plate and collect for like people affected, which quite like blew me away, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, I digress. It was a terrible event, and it's about this family that were on holiday in Thailand when the tsunami struck, and they all got separated, and it was their battle to A, find out if everybody had survived, and B, try to get back as a family. And yeah, real sad stuff and real emotional stuff, and it's one that got to the tin man, as they call me. Yeah, good film, that, The Impossible. I'll recommend that if you haven't seen it. Right, now we're going to go for a biopic, or biopic, I don't know how you say it. I think either way is right, actually. And we're going for 1954, Anthony Mann directed, The Glenn Miller Story. Now, you know what? I haven't got a clue what Glenn Miller actually looked like in real life. I always, because I've seen this film so many times, I always mention that Glenn Miller did actually look like Jimmy Stewart, which wouldn't be a bad thing for a Glenn. But yeah, I love this film. Charts Miller's career from struggling guy who's always had his trombone in and out of pawn shops as he tried to make his way from bit part musician to master of his own fate, putting together all these big arrangements for these big bands, and yes, follows his life and his marriage to June Allison, up to him joining the army in the Second World War, and his very untimely death. Yeah, just a great feel-good film, and love the music. I love swing music. Quite cultured here on Blu-Ray movies, if you believe it or not. Yeah, another one I can highly recommend, that, A Glenn Miller Story. No Blu-ray in this country, so I had to import one, a European one, not sure what country it's from, but it wasn't too expensive. Yeah, it's quite reasonably priced, and looks good on Blu-ray. Yeah, very nice picture. Yeah, that's A Glenn Miller Story, my favourite biopic. Next up, we're going to go for a road movie. My choice would be It Happened One Night from 1934, which makes it the earliest movie on this list, and on the other list as well that I made. Actually, I should have included a silent film. Maybe that's one for a part 3 if it happened. Yeah, 1934, directed by the brilliant Frank Capra, starring Clark Gable, Claudette Colbert. I love Claudette Colbert. I've only seen about 3 or 4 films of hers, but she's been absolutely sparkling in each one. And this is heralded as the original screwball comedy, so could have fit into that category as well. But for this one, I chose road movies because a lot of the film is set on the road. This is about Colbert's character. She's this heiress who wants to get married, but not to who Daddy wants her to get married. So she goes on the run to meet up with her would-be fiance in Florida. I think it's from New York to Florida, or Florida to New York, vice versa, one of the two. And on the way, she meets up with Clark Gable's character, who is this unscrupulous, if you like, news reporter who realises who this girl is because it's all over the news that she's gone missing, and he's determined to get her back into. He's determined to get her back into her father's arms safely and collect the reward money. And yeah, the things they get up to on the way, and it's very predictable that the couple grow attached to each other along the journey, and brilliant situations, and the chemistry between Gable and Colbert is just off the wall. There's some fantastic set pieces in it. A film I could watch over and over again, never gets tired for me. It happened one night. Yeah, brilliant stuff, and my favourite road trip film. Next, we're going to go for documentary now, which is a genre I don't watch many of, to be honest. I like to watch films to escape from the troubles of the world, leave everything behind me, and escape into a fantasy world. So this one, though, I have seen and really thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's from 2008, directed by James Marsh, Man on Wire. Now, this is the story of Philippe Petit, who was a daredevil. I think he still is. I think he's still alive. A daredevil, but he specialised in tightrope walking. Now, he'd already done Notre Dame from tower to tower, which is a hell of a height, and he decides to move on to the newly built World Trade Center. It also becomes a bit of a heist story, if you want, because obviously they shouldn't be up there walking from tower to tower. So it's all about how they manage to gain access into the towers as posing as workmen, how they manage to avoid detection and security and being there at night so they'd be alone after all the builders left so they can carry it out. And it's absolutely staggering when you show him walking between the Twin Towers, because God, there were some big builders. There is bloody no way you'd have caught me doing this. I'd get dizzy on the top of a stepladder, which I think also added to the excitement for me. And again, early 2000s humanitarian disaster, the Twin Towers. And when I watch anything now with them in, I get this like melancholic feelings, this fascination, and yeah, it's a great documentary. It's also been adapted into a film called The Walk with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I believe, which is also very good. So might be a good double bill, but I recommend you definitely check out that documentary. Incredible stuff. What people can do. Absolutely awesome. That's Man on Wire. Right, next up we're going to go for adventure, and you might think this is a generic pick, and it probably is, to be fair, but for adventure films, I couldn't look any further than this, and that's 1981, Steven Spielberg, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And to be fair, I could have picked any 3 of the trilogy, because I do like them equally as much. That's the first 3, actually. The 4th one, it's not as bad as people make out, and I haven't seen the latest one recently, but this is just sheer adventure. If you open up your dictionary at adventure, there's a picture of Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones in there. Wonderful story that from start to end, it's just unrelenting schoolboy adventure. Now, I first saw this at high school, actually. They had a activities afternoon, and we were given the option of either walking around the school field for charity all afternoon on a hot baking day, I remember the day well, or sitting in a classroom and watching Indiana Jones. Of course, budding movie person, Roy watched Indiana Jones and I've been in love with it ever since. A film that never gets old. You can watch it over and over again as it's set piece after set piece. Love the tank scenes and the truck scenes where it is going underneath the truck. Totally ripped from the John Ford film Stagecoach, but he pays homage to it so well. Great actors: Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, Denholm Elliott, Alfred Molina, Pat Roach from Auf Wiedersehen Pet as the big guy he's having a fight with, was the aeroplane circling round him. Yeah, wonderful adventure. Switch your brain off. Brilliant stuff. Next up, we're going for Feel Good, and this is a film that makes me feel good every time I watch it. I've seen it countless times, and that's 2014 Jon Favreau, Chef. Now, check out the cast on this. Jon Favreau himself, who directs it as well. Jean Leguizamo, Bobby Cannavale, Scarlett Johansson, Dustin Hoffman, Sofia Vergara, Robert Downey Jr. Brilliant, brilliant film. This is all about Jon Favreau's character. He's this top-ranked Michelin star chef who, after giving a bad food review from a critic, falling out with the manager of the hotel, the owner of the hotel, decides to give it all up, buy himself a food van, go on the road and do some cooking from the heart, making these sandwiches and stuff like that, and just selling them along the way. And news soon gets around that this celebrity chef has started this venture, and with the help of his son, who does all the TikToking and stuff like that, because Favreau's character is a bit like me, a total technophobe and wouldn't know how to do stuff like that. It really takes off, and just a wonderful voyage of discovery, a coming-of-age drama with a father and son connecting time together because they haven't had much time together before because he's been so busy in the restaurant. And don't go into this feeling hungry because just some of the stuff he whips up looks absolutely incredible. Yeah, lovely, lovely film. Makes you feel good. That's why it's in the category. Yeah, that Chef. Brilliant stuff. Watch that if you haven't seen it. Right, guys, next up we're going for sport, and you might say another generic pick, but another category. I couldn't look any further than Rocky, and in particular Rocky 1. Particularly, what sort of word is that? In particular, Rocky 1. Now, I suppose you could have gone for all four of the first four films of the franchise are brilliant film, but I think Rocky, the first one, is seminal and truly deserving of its Oscar win. It's from 1976, directed by John Avildsen. Great cast: Stallone himself, Talia Shire, Adrian, Burt Young, Paulie, Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed. Such a great adversary for Rocky. Burgess Meredith, Mickey, absolutely iconic, and the best adaptation of depicting rags to riches, the little man who could become the big man, grabbing your chance, the all-American dream as Rocky, from this bit part punch-drunk fighter who makes his way to the top of the boxing profession. And Apollo Creed, just a great adversary, out of all the ones that Rocky had, it is still my favourite. And I loved their arc over the films, from rivals to friends to more than friends to sharing their lives together. Yeah, Rocky, you can't go wrong with Rocky. Brilliant. I haven't watched this 4K yet, so hopefully the 4K will be good on it. Yeah, love Rocky. That's why it's my favourite sports pick. Next up is musicals. Now, musicals, if you know me, you know the channel. It's not my thing, but I've delved into it, and yeah, I found one that I liked, and that one is great. Grease? Oh God, no! Ooh. No! Sorry, my mistake. La La Land from 2016. 26. Can you believe that this is going to be 10 years next year? How on earth has that happened? Damien Chazelle, who for me is my most favourite director working today. Love his films. 4 stone cold classics. I mean, Whiplash, brilliant film, but I'll put that as his least favourite film for myself. Then I'd go with First Man. Love that film. Then I'd go with Babylon, and then Top of the Tree, La La Land, which is quite surprising in itself to think that I put a musical as his favourite film, but I just love this film. Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, J.K. Simmons, and the chemistry between these two, Like It Happened One Night, off the charts, as it looks at 2 people who fall in love, but they're chasing their different careers. Stone as an actress, Gosling as a jazz musician, and will their passions of careers inflict with their passions they have for each other, and how to find a balance in between that too. Yeah, great film, great music, great set pieces, and another one that could easily have made its way into the tearjerker section, because yeah, it's not smooth sailing. Yeah, that's La La Land. Absolutely love that, and fitting of me being my favourite musical, I think. 2 others I did think about. Tommy, I love Tommy, and Singing in the Rain. Everybody loves Singing in the Rain. Yeah, I did think about them too, but La La Land comes out on top by a smidge. Now, next up, we'll go for one of my favourite genres, one that I should have had in the first video. I don't know why I didn't put this genre in there, and that is film noir. I absolutely love my noir, but this is one that might surprise a lot of people that I put as my favourite, and that's from 1949, directed by Byron Haskin, Too Late for Tears, starring Elizabeth Scott, who, in my opinion, so underrated as the film noir actresses, the femme fatales go in that era. I think she doesn't get a lot of praise that she deserves. Arthur Kennedy as her husband, Dandareya, who always makes a brilliant bad guy. He's one of my favourite actors in these noir films. And yeah, this is all about Elizabeth Scott and Arthur Kennedy. As I say, they're this married couple, and they're driving out one night and having a bit of an argument in their car. They've got a soft top car, and they stop to continue their argument. And as they stop, a car screeches past, and somebody throws a bag, and it lands on the back seat and screeches off. They open it up, and it's stuffed full of dollars. I think it was $60,000, if I remember correctly. It might not be right. And the husband wants to hand it into the police. Elizabeth Scott, she's determined to keep hold of the money, and it leads to murder, infidelity, all them good things when Dandareya, whose money it is, comes to claim it. Yeah, just brilliant film noir, twisty, turny, everything you want in a noir. fast-paced, never get bored for a minute, too late for tears. Absolutely love this film. Yeah, brilliant, brilliant stuff. Right, we're going to finish off with prison drama, and I couldn't look any further than Birdman of Alcatraz from 1962, directed by John Frankenheimer, starring Burt Lancaster, Carl Malden, Thelma Ritter, Telly Savalas, and what a wonderful true story this. This is all about Burt Lancaster, who plays Robert Stroud. He's this guy who gets put in prison for life. I think he kills a policeman, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. And he's this real hard-bitten criminal who quite difficult to deal with for the prison guards and the authorities. And one day he finds this bird injured on the grounds of the prison, and he takes it back to his cell and nurses it back to life. And this sets him on this journey of ornithology, where he starts keeping lots of birds in his cell. He starts writing about birds, and he becomes, from behind bars, one of America's foremost authorities in birds and aviaries and keeping birds and healthcare for them and all stuff like that, and how basically it turns his life around while he's in prison. And again, could have fit into other characters, like a feel-good film and stuff like that. Yeah, really, really worth watching this. I think it's quite a long film, 143 minutes, but well worth investing your time in. And yeah, and based on a true story as well. And they reckon that the guy in real life wasn't the nicest guy when he went into prison. Well, that's why they end up in prison, isn't it? Yeah, really, really good. My favourite prison drama, that's The Birdman of Alcatraz. So that's it, guys. That's 11 more favourites from 11 more genres. Let me know what you think down below. Thanks very much for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you've liked what I've done here today. Maybe think about subscribing, commenting. Love the comments. Love back and forward in conversing with you guys. Makes this channel well worth doing. Brilliant. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Take care, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.